Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are still playing news catch up. We are going through a lot of different topics, but before we get to all that, let's do our weekend checkup. Caleb, how you been doing?
Good, good. Uh, so as far as this week, um, everyone is on their seats, on the edge of their seats, asking for my opinion on Bad Batch episodes 1 through 3 for season 3. I have not watched it yet. Um, and as far as other things that I have watched. So the reason that I actually haven't watched Bad Batch this week is because on Wednesday, Cameron and I went to go see um, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children in the movie theaters because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out next week, and so well, actually this week because it's the start of the week. um, so yeah, we're all really excited about it, and so just going to see the movie that. So for those of you who are not familiar with the lore of Final Fantasy VII, this movie, who for the longest time a lot of people hated, I've never hated it. I've always really liked it. Um, it's actually kind of the catalyst for the remake storyline, and so it's cool that they use this as an opportunity to put it in theaters through Fathom. So we went to go see that. Once again, still love the movie. It's a lot of fun. Um, and that was pretty much it. I'm still kind of getting over my cold that I was dealing with last week. But that's the nature of having Crohn's. Is I'm uh, I'm sick for longer, and it's weirder. The way I always describe Crohn's, actually, like how red kryptonite affects Superman different every time it comes up. That's what a sickness is for someone with Crohn's. It's just kind of like red kryptonite. So, um,
It's no fun.
no, it's not. Um, but yeah, how about yourself? What have you been? Oh, by the way, I have been reading through Astro City. Uh, so far, I really like it. I assume that's what you've been doing, plus a little more, perhaps.
I actually have been forgetting to read, so I need to do that.
Okay,
It's been
cool.
a busy week. I've been
Sure,
dealing
yeah.
with plumbing issues this weekend, so
Ooh,
uh, and I got those resolved this morning. So that's been stressful. Uh, there's a Twitch streamer. I don't know if you know of him, Insim.
I
Um,
don't know.
okay, he's been playing. He plays a lot of scary games. He's playing through the final release of Sons of the Forest. So
Oh,
I'm a
that.
big fan of the Forest series. So I've been watching that and been watching Rift Tracks as usual. Um, Anything else? I'm trying to think pop culture wise. Mostly just keeping up with all the news, and we will get to those today. Tripping Orc is checking in. He said he just started reading the Dresden Files. Awesome. I think my brother is a big fan of those books. So that's cool.
I have wanted to get into Dresden Files, and I hadn't heard about it until like I want to say like freshman or junior of college, which is when I was working at a bookstore, and so I didn't work in the science fiction section. However, I ran the comic book section, which was right next to science fiction. So um, I I've definitely wanted to try it out. I know there was a show, which I really couldn't speak to. Um, I couldn't
Wasn't
speak.
the wasn't the guy from Arrow on there?
That's
The
what I was. That's what I was looking up. I think it's Paul Blackthorne who
Yeah.
played. Yeah, it is Paul Blackthorne. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. I always liked him, at least in Arrow, anything else that I've seen him in, which isn't a whole lot, but I've always liked him.
Hmm.
But oh, he was Gideon Haskin, Battlefront 2. Okay, that's cool. Um, real quick, I'm just curious because I always like to get people right and shout people out. Um, is this guy you're talking about?
Yes, that is Ensign.
Cool, cool. What game was it that you were talking about watching?
He's playing it right now. Sons of the Forest.
Okay.
The
What is this?
Forest.
What's
The
what do we got
Forest
going on?
was the first game was the Forest. This is the sequel. Basically, it was you get stranded on an island after a plane crash. Your son goes missing. You have to fight a bunch of cannibals and mutants to get him back. And it's like it's got a really complex building system in it where you can build like big tree houses and cut down any tree and build all kinds of structures and stuff. Uh, but what's freaky about the game is the monsters. It's a lot of different.
Was that a golf cart?
Yeah, he's riding a golf cart on a frozen lake right now.
I did.
Um,
It didn't even register to me. I thought like he was on a boat or something.
no, he's on a golf cart. Um, yeah, we might want to turn this off because there might be some barely dressed cannibals here in a minute. Um,
Gotcha, gotcha.
the mutants in the game though are like it's a lot of body horror where it's like creatures like multiple legs and multiple arms and stuff. It gets really freaky.
So
Um,
kind of something kind of like if Borderlands, which we'll talk about Borderlands here in a second, if that turns out well, then Eli Roth might do this one too.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I can see Eli Roth making this. It's kind of like The Descent mixed with
I do love The Descent.
not that I've ever seen it, but The Descent mixed with like HR Geiger type creatures,
Mhm.
just really
Yeah.
um so this is the sequel. Now you're back on the island. And it's kind of fun because what you're in this game, you're a like a SEAL Six type person, SEAL Team Six, and you've one of the other people survived the helicopter crash, but now he's deaf. So you like write notes of what you want him to do and smack it on him. So like go cut trees and just smack the note on his chest, and he'll go do it and stuff. And so you have like a little servant guy. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay. I'm still watching this. He's currently in like a cave, and I assume. Oh, yep. There's a body.
Yeah.
And just to describe, there. That's literally a baby. That's literally
Yeah,
just like a naked baby crawling around like a spider.
yeah, they will jump all over you. Um,
That's wow.
and they make squealing noises and stuff. And
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. This is, you know what? This is probably definitely one of those that I could like see myself like watching someone play, but not one that I would play.
no, I would never play this. I'd be freaking out.
It reminds me of so one of my favorite games of all time is Resident Evil 7. I love Resident Evil 7. For those of you who don't know, that was the first Resident Evil game that was first person, and I hadn't really got into my horror kick at the time. Now I'm at the point where like nothing really phases me. Um, but I was playing it over at a friend's house, and uh, we had to keep switching back and forth because I was good at the game because I'm good at video games, but I couldn't stand the jump scares and the terror, so I would pass it back to him. But
Hmm.
then he could handle the jump scares and terror, but he sucked at the game.
Right.
So we had to like just keep passing the controller back and forth. Together, we would have made a great Markiplier. um,
Nice.
yeah. So yeah. Anyway, this is still kind of a news catch up. I'll be honest. I've never paid attention to it before. Do we typically get a lot of do we typically get a lot of news at the beginning of the year? Is that something new?
You mean like movie wise? Because I know Nintendo usually
Mo-
does
mo-
their announcements
yeah,
and stuff around this
movie
time of year.
news. Yeah.
I
Um,
suppose yeah, we're getting it towards summer, so we're gonna start seeing all the trailers for like your summer movies and stuff. So yeah.
okay, cool, cool. So one of the first things that jumped out to both of us. Now I'm more familiar with this series, but um, I feel like you're moderately excited for this as well, just because of the style of it.
Hmm.
Um, so new Borderlands trailer came out. First of all, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this out there. I've never really found Kate. I'm not gonna say that Blanchett was like unattractive to me, but like I've never really seen her as attractive until now. Like you just put a red wig on her and give her like this kind of steampunk look, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it, I get it. But yeah, we got Borderlands. Um,
Yeah, I thought I agree. I've never been like super hot for Kate Blanchett. Maybe when she was Gila in Thor, I thought maybe that skin tight outfit, but yeah, not too crazy about her. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts on this? I'm curious.
so I I think this looks really good. I'm really curious as to what the rating is for this movie. Um, I really hope that this is an R movie and not a PG-13 movie, because this is very much the uninitiated would watch the trailer and say, "Oh, this is just a ripoff of Guardians." And Borderlands, the games have always been kind of Guardians like. They've always been very similar. Um, and so it would be really unfortunate for this to just be like if this is just PG-13, then it's just a Guardians ripoff. This has the opportunity to go farther than Guardians if it's R-rated. Um, but that I guess that remains to be seen. I would assume if it's Eli Roth, then it'll be R-rated.
So
Uh,
you're generally hyped for this after seeing
oh
the
yeah.
trailer.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely. Um, I'm first of all, Jack Black is Claptrap. I love that. Um, I am very curious how they're gonna do Kevin Hart, because he's playing Roland, and Kevin Hart is really short.
Yeah, so I was pretty excited. I know nothing about Borderlands other than the guy on the box. It
Mm.
was uh, and I was generally pretty excited about this. And then I checked the reaction for people online. Everybody is very negative on this. I was very surprised because it was I don't know. I think some of them are more caught up with the behind the scenes of it and saying that they've sat on this for a while. There's been several writers attached to it. But I thought the trailer looked like a blast.
Yeah, from what I can tell, just looking into it, um, apparently there was a screening back in 2022, so this was done in 2022,
Hmm.
and then they did some rewrites and reshoots after that screening. Um, so that's a possibility of things going on behind the scenes. But honestly, just based on the trailer, and here's the thing. Uh, Borderlands is not like high art. It's very much supposed to be stupid.
Hmm.
So like the only way that I can see you messing this up is if it's boring.
Yeah.
And I don't see that, especially with the cast and with Eli Roth. Um, Interestingly enough, I looked up the cast list because I was curious as to who was playing Handsome Jack, who is the villain of the first game. Uh, and on the cast list, it has Edgar Ramirez. For those of you who don't know, he was the CIA assassin in Born Ultimatum. He was in American Crime Story. He's one of those guys that you've definitely seen, but you probably wouldn't like know his name, if that makes sense.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but so he plays a character labeled Atlas. In the games, Atlas is the name of the company that Handsome Jack owns, and they're kind of like the bad guys. So I assume that this is just a placeholder and he's actually just playing Handsome Jack. So that's pretty cool. And then, I mean, when has Jamie Lee Curtis ever been bad in anything? Even whenever the movie is bad, she isn't bad.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. She's very enjoyable actress.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, fun thing. Another thing. We finished the Bear season 2. Bear is a fantastic show. Jamie Lee Curtis plays Carmi's mom in 2 episodes of The Bear, and she's great in that. Um, but yeah, as far as Borderlands, I'm excited for it. It looks really entertaining. I will admit that I'm not like the biggest fan of Borderlands. I've actually only played the first 2, and I've never played them all the way through. Um, and also, uh, I'm not a fan of the director of the Borderlands games, Randy Pitchford. I'm not a fan of his, so um, that also has to do with my lack of playing the games, is I just don't like Randy Pitchford. But the movie, I think, looks like a lot of fun. All right. So next up, speaking of live action, I want to complain about the Halo show a little bit because right now we're in the middle of season 2, and so season 1 is like pre Fall of Reach, and I'm about to get into like major Halo lore and whatnot. But I have to find a place to complain about this, and this is the place. So this is pre Fall of Reach. For those who don't know, the Fall of Reach is the equivalent of Order 66 for Halo, where the Reach was never supposed to fall. It was never supposed to be attacked. Like it's basically a second Earth for Halo, uh, and there's an entire game based on the fall of Reach and how the Covenant actually completely destroyed Reach. And so season 2, we are now kind of in the middle of the fall of Reach, and it's been pretty good. It's been an improvement over the first season, but they made the weirdest decision ever, which is now that the Covenant are attacking Reach and the battles and explosions are happening, Oni, who is kind of like the CIA of the Halo universe, they decide that Reach is a lost cause and they abandon it. And they take the Spartan armor with them. So this screen that I have looks pretty cool, right?
Mm.
Spartans and their armor and everything. This is like the game. Well, now we are in the middle of the Fall of Reach, which is one of the biggest events in the Halo universe, and none of the Spartans have their armor. And it is so stupid. Like, imagine if imagine if uh during the Battle of Coruscant in
Mm.
Star Wars, whenever the separatists officially attack, and then they're like, okay, well, Coruscant's a lost cause. We're getting out of here, and Jedi, we're taking your lightsabers with us. Like it's the same thing, or okay, clones, you don't get your armor.
Yeah.
Like
Clones. Don't more clone trooper armor for
yeah,
anybody.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I mean, it's so weird because, like I said, on the whole, this season is, you know, it's an improvement, but they make some weird decisions, such as we're gonna make this season the season where they've lost their armor, and I don't know. I Like I said, I just needed a place to complain about this, and talking about live action adaptations towards the beginning of the show seemed like the perfect place. Speaking of live action adaptations, I would like to formally apologize to M. Night Shyamalan. Uh, Turns out this is impossible. There is no possible way to make a live action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Um, I don't know who else has seen the live action show, but
Yeah, I've
it's
heard it was not good.
no. So here's the thing. I've realized something because the choreography for this show is very similar to The Last Airbender by Shyamalan, and then I'm putting it side by side with like the cartoon, and I'm like, okay, I mean, like this choreography looks like the cartoon, looks like the cartoon, and I'm just starting to think that like you can't do cartoons like this in live action. I'm starting to think that.
So was it the because I haven't seen it. It's were the action scenes bad? Were the characters off? Or
Uh,
just
Action scenes are bad. Characters are definitely off. Um, Let me put it to you this way: um, in it, with a single decision, they have ruined Ozai, Zuko, and Azula
okay?
because Ozai does not view Zuko as a complete disgrace, and he's almost sort of proud of him.
Yeah. So early on in this, when they were making this, they ran off the original Avatar cartoon creators. So I can see that this is missing the heart of Avatar, and
Yeah.
it's just not a good adaptation. Uh, Tripping Orc does bring up a good point. One Piece did a good job. I
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love the One Piece adaptation. It's the exception to the rule when it comes
Yes,
to these
yes.
live action cartoon shows. So
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I'm not a One Piece fan. And so just being completely honest, I really didn't know how close the fight scenes would be to the Netflix show, but the Netflix show does look pretty good. Um, but yeah,
I
I'm very curious if Avatar gets renewed. Um, just because, like,
it's got to be expensive.
well, it's got to be expensive, and I know that I and some other people in the YouTube community are not a fan of it. Moist Critical Charlie,
Mhm.
on his moist meter, he gave it a 50%, which is obviously not good. Um, However, I personally know people who actually like it, um, and so I don't know how. I don't know how it's going to go as far as whether it's renewed or not.
They're saying it's about 15 million per episode, so 120 million altogether.
I mean,
Um,
I will go ahead and say this. Um, I at least finished Cowboy Bebop season one.
oh
I'm not
no,
I'm not going to finish this. Then again, I will say I am a bigger fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender than I am of Cowboy Bebop. So this is one of those things that's borderlines on the personally insulting to me. Um, and Cowboy Bebop is just one of those things that I watched when I had COVID 2 years ago.
So I think it's interesting if you look at One Piece and we look at something like Alita Battle Angel that we both enjoyed quite a bit.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I think that they were made by people who really liked the source material, great cinematography, great fight scenes, and were very faithful, or as faithful as you can get, translating to live action. So I think if the creator is really a fan of the material and is talented, then you could make this work. But if you're not a fan and you're making changes, like, oh well, I think this character would be better if he was, less of a toxic male and this and that, whatever. You're just gonna remove the heart of these characters, and it just does not work when you
Yeah,
start making changes.
and I saw this one thing. This was actually in the comments section of Moist Critical's Moist Meter, which is someone said, "It's really weird to approach an adaptation like you're going to fix it."
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
um,
now,
so
as
Tripping Orc brought up that Naruto's coming live action. Do you think Naruto could be a successful live action?
so this one I actually do think it can, just because even in the context of animation, Naruto has always been, at least a little different. Um, the director of Shang-Chi is doing the Naruto movie. Okay, yeah, yeah, I'm on board. Immediately I'm on board. um uh I will be curious how I will be curious as to how they'll do some of the weirder looking jutsu, specifically the harem jutsu, which is where Naruto turns into a naked lady with like the steam and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then Kakashi's classic 1,000 Years of Death. Do you remember that one?
Yes. Yes.
Where with the fingers.
Yes.
um, so I definitely don't know how you do those, but I think you could probably play Naruto pretty straightforward, um, and it would work pretty well. It's just the few jutsu um, that would be weird. I'm trying to think of another one. Uh,
Well, the nine
like
tail fox in general would be,
yeah, and then Rock Lee, whenever he gets all red and his hair sticking up, that might look a little weird, but you can
yeah,
make it work.
yeah. I think so. It's I don't want to say Naruto's more grounded, but it's more grounded than the
I mean,
other ones
yeah,
than like a Dragon Ball Z or something like that.
yeah, yeah. Uh, no, and here's the thing. I know exactly what you mean. Grounded is not the right word, and that's why I didn't use it myself.
Hmm.
But I'm on board with what you're saying. I just don't know the word either.
Right, right.
um, but yeah, so I was not a fan of the Avatar Netflix show. Um, I actually didn't go into it with high expectations because I knew that the creators left production, so I had a feeling. So I didn't go in with high expectations anyway, and I still find this to be personally insulting. Um, and just so people know, whenever I say something's personally insulting, I truly mean personally. I am not talking about like if you like this, or maybe you're like, okay, it's not great, but it's not that bad. Keep in mind that I also put Spider-Man Far From Home on my personally insulting list, and just take it as what you will. It is something that is me personally. Um, and any pretty much any sort of adaptation of like an evil Superman, I find personally insulting. That one's more of just like a personal rule though. um, Invincible being the exception.
The exception, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which, you know what? I didn't put that on the list. Real quick, do you want to go ahead and talk the
yeah,
Invincible?
the rumor's been pretty much shot down at this point, but we'll
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and mention it. Invincible season 2 is going on at the moment on Amazon Prime, and they split it into two parts. Uh, and the second part is adapting a story. I can't remember the bad guy's name, but there's a bad guy that sends Mark through several different alternate realities. When they did this in the comic books, they did a crossover with Spider-Man in an issue of Marvel Team Up. So the question was, is Spider-Man going to show up as a guest appearance in part two of season 2? Robert Kirkman has come out and said no, which I I don't know how much Robert Kirkman's tricky when he makes statements sometimes.
Robert Kirkman blatantly lies a lot, and I think that's why he's a great storyteller.
Yes, yes, I think you have to lie. Otherwise, if you're, if the audience constantly knows how you're doing your tricks, you're not a very good magician. So he throws people off the trail constantly.
Yeah, he just ends The Walking Dead arbitrarily one issue, and then that's the end of one of the biggest comics to ever
Yes,
exist.
yeah, it was like 4 issues before issue 100 or something. Yeah, he just, oh well. Um, we do
What
know that
started
Josh,
this? Yeah, I was about to. I think you're about to explain that, but what started this rumor?
somebody online claimed that they had seen a screener and that Spider-Man was involved. Other people have denied that rumor. And then Josh Keaton being cast for one episode of Invincible, and he was the voice of, was it Spectacular Spider-Man? He did the voice on.
Yes, he was.
So I could see us getting a parody character of Spider-Man or something like the Brown
Night
Widow from Venture Brothers or something like that,
Night Monkey.
or Night Monkey. Yeah. If it is actually Spider-Man, that's incredible that they've kept it a secret.
Yeah. Um, actually, you know what's funny? That wouldn't be the first time that Josh Keaton has done that, because there was an episode of Young Justice whenever the show was good.
Oh,
Uh,
yes,
he
he was the spider villain on
he
there.
he played Black Spider, which is a lot of fun. So it wouldn't be his first time doing something like that.
Right.
Um, and I do love Josh Keaton. So who knows if we'll get Spider-Man in Invincible? Um, would be a lot of fun, but
It would be, and again, something else we didn't plan to talk about. Marvel and DC are actually reprinting their crossovers in
oh
August.
yeah. See,
Uh,
there was so much news that I couldn't even. I went through I went through the last week of everything that IGN has posted,
yeah.
just trying to find things because I know we
So
missed a bunch.
the fact that Marvel and DC are reprinting their crossover, something I didn't think we'd ever see again, does give a little bit of hope that maybe Spider-Man could show up in Invincible.
Let me take a look. Did you see how much this omnibus is?
Oh, the omnibus prices are ridiculous. I'm hoping that they'll reprint them, but there'll be two different volumes, I believe.
Yeah.
The DC versus Marvel omnibus, and then there's, which is weird because it does not contain the DC versus Marvel story in this.
Oh, it doesn't.
No, if you get the amalgam omnibus, it has DC versus Marvel and all the amalgam stories.
And then Amalgam is like Dark Claw and Sparrow and Super Soldier.
Yes,
Okay.
and I was gonna sell the copy I have, but apparently two of the stories will not be reprinted in this because the creator got into some trouble that we're not going to talk about on here. But the JLX issue is not included, and I think it's the Magneto and the Metal Men story is not going to be included either. So
Okay.
yeah, it's very weird that the DC versus Marvel story is not in the DC versus Marvel collection. I'd rather
I
have the DC versus Marvel collection though, because it's got like the X-Men versus Teen Titans story and stuff in there. So
uh-huh. Uh You know what? Whenever it comes to amalgam, um, I have always thought they're like choices of combining heroes. They were a little weird. Like Dark Claw, I definitely get because it's Batman, biggest in the '90s. Wolverine, biggest in the '90s. I get that.
Yeah.
Super Soldier, I can get. Iron Lantern is a weird one, right?
Hmm.
Speed Demon is a weird one. For those who don't know, Speed Demon is, I believe it's Flash and Daredevil, right?
Ghost Rider.
Is it Ghost Rider? Okay.
Yeah.
I might be able to get on board with that then. Um,
I can't remember who Daredevil combined with. Like Bullets and Bracelets was weird. It was Wonder Woman and Punisher.
I had never heard of this one. Thor Ryan of the new Asgods. Okay. I'm on board. Never mind. I'm wrong. I'm on board.
Like, how can you go wrong with Lobo the Duck? I mean,
Love.
that is
That's amazing.
a Generation Hex. I mean, that's just fun, you know. So
Generation Hex. What's Generation Hex?
Jonah Hex and Generation X.
Oh, Jonah Hex. Okay. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know if that was like the Hive 5 or something from Teen Titans, but no. Okay. And then I assume X Patrol is Doom Patrol.
I think so. What's
Bullets
weird
and
is like Superman is not really involved with this, if I recall, because like what is it? Super Soldier is Steve Rogers. So I'm trying to remember if Kal El is actually a character per se in this.
Oh my god. I'm just looking at cuz Bullets and Bracelets was on here, so I was like, "What is that?" And it's the
Was
Punisher and
Yeah,
Wonder
Punisher
Woman.
and Wonder Woman. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Um, what was the? There's a weird one with. I know there's one. Maybe it is Bullets and Bracelets that involves Daredevil. I am trying to remember.
Challengers of the Fantastic. Was
So
that
that'd be
like
the Challengers of the Unknown and the Fantastic Four, I think.
okay. Uh
Assassins, that's the one I'm thinking of, where it's like Elektra mixed with like Catwoman, mixed with
okay.
Daredevil and Deathstroke or something. It's all mixed together.
So Bruce Wayne, Agent of Shield, is that different from Dark? So
It's different.
is Dark?
Yeah, yeah.
So Dark
Dark
Claw is
Claw is Logan, yes, and which is fun because the hyena is Joker and Sabretooth combined.
right, and Sparrow is Jubilee, right?
Yes,
So Magnet Men featuring Magneto, is that the Metal Men?
I think that's a because they did this twice. They did the first round, and I think that's from the second round. So the original story maybe is not getting reprinted. Um, I know there's a couple stories not getting reprinted, so that I may be wrong, but
No, I'm just talking about like the amalgam. Is it
oh,
X Men
it's
and
the
the
Metal
Metal Men?
Men and Magneto. Yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah,
what?
I completely forgot to put this one on the docket,
Oh, you
but
see the picture there, the girl that's like Daredevil and or Electra and Deathstroke mixed together. Yeah,
oh my
that's the one I'm
gosh.
thinking from Assassins.
That's, well, then who do we got going on here?
That's the Catwoman, and I don't remember who the other one is.
I mean, there's a size, so this has got
I
to be
remember I
Electra.
remember them fighting. I think he was called the Question Mark. It was Kingpin mixed with the Riddler or something.
Oh, that's cool. Honestly, that's actually Kingpin and Riddler is not an amalgam that I would think of, but I'm kind of on board with that.
Yeah. So the collection I have has this cover. They split them into a DC amalgam and a Marvel amalgam. So I have the DC amalgam collection. I don't have the Marvel one. So
Okay. Which one's DC and which one's Marvel? So Dark Claw and Super Soldier, are those the
yeah, so the ones on the cover up there, they're more DC leaning characters. So like Spider Boy would be in the other collection because that's more Spider Man and whatnot.
So who's Spider Boy supposed to be an amalgam with?
It's Superboy,
Oh,
and I think he's because this was the Ben Riley era when they did this, so it's probably the leaning into the whole they're both clones type
So I
thing.
assume Bat Thing is Man Bat and Man Thing.
I think so. Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Doctor Strange and Doctor Fate. Doctor Strange
Doctor
Fate.
Strange Fate, yeah. I mean, that was just obvious. Like, how could you not do that one?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, amalgam is fun. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. I know that they did a. I think they did Dark Knight or Dark Claw Adventures, like a Batman animated series version of Dark Claw for one of the stories. Um,
Okay.
just a lot of fun. So that collection comes out in August. As you can see, it's $150. You could get that for way cheaper if you if you look around. There's some
Yeah.
different
What
websites.
and this is only part of it because this is the amalgam DC versus Marvel, and then the other one is just DC versus Marvel, but not the story DC versus Marvel. Together, it is $300.
Yeah, DC versus Marvel has like the classic crossovers, like Spider Man meets Superman. Uh, it's got Batman versus Punisher, which I think I have over on my shelf. That one's a fun story. Uh, that's the one where the Joker refuses to team up the Red Skull because he's a German, blah blah blah. The word we can't say on
Right.
on
Right.
YouTube. So that's a fun story. And then it has the Avengers versus Justice League crossover by George Perez and was that Busiek? I can't remember who wrote that, but that's a great crossover. So that would be the one I'm more interested in. If I get these, I would like I hope they split them up into smaller books. But if it's just the omnibuy, then I might have to splurge on these. So
Cool, cool. I'm glad you brought that up because I completely forgot about that one.
we are way
Um,
off topic, and I feel like that's how tonight's going to be. We didn't have like a central topic, so we're just going to
well,
go where the
it
stories take us tonight.
honestly, it's not off topic because our next thing has to do with DC, and by
Okay.
DC, I mean more WB. WB is not doing too good.
No. The lots of rumors that they are getting Warner Brothers ready to be sold, and I've been hearing this rumor for years, and now it seems to be a lot more people are getting behind it, and I'm hearing it's going to happen fast, like April. You'll hear an announcement. So if this is true, that's going to be a huge, huge shakeup. The rumored buyer that last I heard would be NBC, which is Universal, which would be because I think in the Universal Comcast, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
things mixed up. Which I think would be interesting because then you'd have Universal Studios having Marvel and DC characters at their parks. Of course, you also Six Flags still has the rights to the DC characters. So I don't know. They'd figure something out. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I've tried to defend Zaslav. I can't defend him anymore.
He Zaslav said something because they recently had their stockholders call or whatever.
hmm
And you know how like when it comes to Disney, I don't usually pay attention to those, but
Yeah.
I defer to you for that. This one I actually kind of paid attention to, um, and he said that they're not doing well because they're the only company that's still um, dedicated to telling good stories.
Okay.
How do you say that while also using several films and TV shows as tax write-offs?
Well, and again, I'll play devil's advocate for Zaslav. The stuff that he's planning for DC has not came out yet.
Sure,
That's all the
sure,
James Gunn stuff. So all the stuff that has come out recently is from the past regime. So he
sure,
really
sure,
had nothing to do with that stuff.
sure, sure.
But him saying that making telling good stories could also reference the fact that he's in charge and has been in charge of like Discovery and HGTV and all that stuff. So he could be referring to his reality shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another thing that I thought was hilarious is in the call. they mentioned Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. It did not perform as well as we thought, and then they immediately moved on. Like they just mentioned Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, like for a brief moment, and just kind of skipped over it.
Surprised they even mentioned it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
Usually on the Disney calls, they'll just ignore stuff that underperformed. They won't even mention it.
yeah. It's you know what's insane? Because last week, not last week, last year, WB had one of the biggest games of all time release, which was
Yeah.
Hogwarts Legacy, and now they come out with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Yeah. And I know this is not, again, like I said, we're not following any pattern. Have you been paying attention to the box office lately?
Just in general,
Yeah, it's bad.
I mean, I gotta be honest, I can't think of a single movie that has come out recently that has been noteworthy.
How did I didn't really follow. Did Wonka do okay? Uh,
I don't know. Let me take a. I'm actually curious because for those of you who remember, I really like Wonka, so I actually don't know how that did. Um,
because I don't think like My Color Purple. I don't think that was a big hit. Madam Web is tanking right now.
yeah.
Um,
Okay, so
Matt,
the
yeah, go ahead.
this is just coming from Wikipedia, so I don't know. The budget was 125 million. Of course, that's not including that's not
Advertising and all that.
advertising.
Hmm.
Box office 617.3 million. So
That's probably a profit, I would say.
yeah,
I'm not Valiant Renegade, so I don't know the breakdown, but
yeah, yeah, but
that sounds like, because if you go like 1.5 times the budget, it's kind of, so they would probably need to make like, I'm thinking like 450, 500K to, or 500 million
it's a net positive.
yeah, it sounds like that one did well enough. Um, and I'm trying to remember what it came out at the end of the year. Like Aquaman 2 didn't
That
do
tanked.
great.
Yeah.
Um,
Aquaman 2 tanked.
tanked. Um,
That's a fish joke for those of you who don't.
yeah. Uh, so Dune 2 is coming out soon. We'll see how that does.
I'm
Uh,
actually very curious because Dune Part 1 was one of those that actually released simultaneously.
yeah, day and date on online.
Yeah,
Or
and so I'm very curious as to how Dune Part 2 does. This one I probably will see just because Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite directors, and even though I was not a big fan of the first Dune movie, I just felt like nothing happened, and so I'm hoping everything happens in this movie.
it sounds like is quite the film. Part 2 is. Some of the reviews I've seen or read. Yeah, I think this will give you what you want, what you're
Cool,
itching
cool.
for. Uh, and then I don't know how Ghostbusters Afterlife will do. That'll be hit or miss. I'm hoping it's a big hit, but we'll see.
I I st- I saw a new trailer for it or like a commercial for it. I still stand by what I said that it doesn't look like a sequel. It looks like an expansion pack. And so the I don't know how the mass public views it, or if like because if I see it in a weird way like an expansion pack, it makes me wonder what the mass public thinks about it, because a mass public wouldn't think the word expansion pack, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, the advertisement for this is up front with, hey, Bill Murray and everybody's in it. Whereas they kept that kind of a secret with the first one. I think that hurt the box office of the first one. Like, I think they should have just came out and said, oh yeah, Bill Murray, everybody's in this movie. You know. Um, so I'm curious if who will show up for this, because the last film, Afterlife, it had a nice ending that wrapped everything up in a bow. You didn't really need. You could have stopped right there, and I would have been satisfied forever as a Ghostbusters fan. So yeah, I hope people come back. Uh, what's interesting is if you pay attention to all the side characters that are in the ads for this one, they've added like three more comedians. So if Paul Rudd, if they wanted to spin this off into a new Ghostbusters that has the four comedian characters, they very well could, because this one has I can't think of their names. Uh,
Is it Kumail Nanjiani,
yes, and
Patton
Patton
Oswalt?
Oswalt. And then the other guy, I don't know. It's not a guy I'm familiar with, but other people have told me he's a comedian. There's like a blonde guy, looks like he looks like the cartoon version of Egon with the glasses, and the commercial shows him grabbing the ball that it freezing his arm. He is also a British comedian.
James Acaster. I love James Acaster. Okay, here's the thing. You make James Acaster a Ghostbuster, I'll be there.
Okay,
I love James Acaster.
so I mean, really, they could spin this off into three different franchises at this point. You could have the original Ghostbusters, you could have the kid Ghostbusters, and you could have the four comedians as Ghostbusters. So I'm not sure what their plan is, but it is interesting.
Okay, cool, cool.
Okay, let's
Uh,
get back onto the list of topics we did have.
so next up, this one we don't have to stay on for long. I just want to make fun of it for a second. So Project L, which is the League of Legends fighting game, is now known as 2XKO, the worst name for a video game I've ever heard. Did Elon Musk title this?
So what does that mean? Two-time knockout or something? You have
So,
to knock them
so,
out twice or knock out two people or
so it it's made by the Cannon brothers, and the Cannon brothers are historically professional Marvel vs. Capcom players. They used to run Evo before joining up with Riot. So this is very much a Marvel vs. Capcom inspired game, and so it is a 2v2 fighter, and so 2XKO. It's two characters knockout. It's a bad name. It's just a really bad name. It might as well be called Two Characters Fight. Uh,
so I just want to say her hand is massive in this picture, and I hope that's not a perspective thing. I hope that her hand is really that big.
it is a perspective thing. It is a
Oh,
perspective
I
thing.
want her hand to be that
Yeah.
big whole fight,
Well,
like
well,
just
I mean, like,
freakishly large.
well. So you know Echo from Arcane, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
his
yeah,
hand's
yeah.
not this big
I
in
know.
Arcane.
I
um,
know.
so but yeah, I mean, like the game itself looks like a lot of fun. I'm a big Marvel fan, obviously, like Marvel vs. Capcom fan, and I do love the League of Legends universe. So I'm definitely excited for it. I'm just like, man, Project L was a better name. Which, for those of you who don't know, Project L was like the working title for the game. Uh, and 2XKO sounds even more like a working title than Project L did.
Yeah, it's a strange title. Like
Yeah.
like if it was called like no, this is a terrible title, like League of Legends 2XKO, or it needs something in the front of that. Like,
Right, right. Like, let me know that this is part of the League of Legends universe.
yeah.
um, so yeah, I just wanted to make fun of that for a second because it's a horrid name, and I hope this is one of those things where you know how the internet shamed people, the Paramount, into changing the design for Sonic. I hope
Hmm.
that we can bully Riot into changing the name, because I'm not the only one who feels about this. Everyone hates this name.
Yeah.
So I really hope that we can bully Riot.
Okay.
Everyone go out and just cyberbully Riot
Yeah.
Games.
Yeah.
Um,
Cyberbullying is cool. You heard it here first. Pop Culture Shark promotes cyberbullying. We are pro cyberbullying.
all right. So yeah, like I said, we don't have to stay on this one for too long. So Spider-Man. Can you kind of walk me through this, because all I have heard is Sony wants Spider-Man 4 like next month, and Kevin Feige is spread too thin.
Basically what you said. Yeah, they want this out in 2025, like December or something. So that means they have to start production like yesterday.
Um,
And Kevin Feige's like, no, we're trying to get Marvel back on track right now. This is not the time. And Sony's like, tough. We want this out now. And with the performance of Madam Web being as bad as it is,
that's probably why, honestly.
yeah, they probably want people to forget Madam Web. You still have Craven out there. They don't know how that's going to perform. We don't know when the next Spider Verse film is coming out. And they were planning a Silk series on Amazon, and reports are they went in and fired like all the writers behind the scenes because of how bad Madam Web was. Um, so they're totally changing directions behind the scenes.
Yeah, which good because Silk is like one of the worst Spider-Man
Oh,
characters.
it's terrible. Is Silk the one that's his? She's the one that got bit by the same spider, right?
Right, right, right. They're the ones that have this weird, um, uncontrollable attraction to each other.
God, some of Spider-Man stories are so bad. some of
Yeah.
the some of the side characters. Um,
Have you been like you probably haven't been reading it, but have you kind of like been catching up on Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man?
I'm not caught up with what happened in issue 2. I know what happened in issue 1, but I have not read the
It
spoilers yet for issue 2.
it's just it's phenomenal. Like like it turns out whenever an adult writes Spider-Man, Spider-Man's good.
Hey,
Uh,
Marvel, if you're listening, Jonathan Hickman had this great X-Men story planned, House of X, Powers of 10, and it went on for 2 years before y'all got it completely off the rails and forced him off the project. He had a 3-phase plan. Y'all got stuck in phase 1 and didn't even let him finish the story. That story would have been phenomenal. Let him write the story. We don't care if it's not in continuity. Let him finish that. Give him like a 36 maxi issue series or whatever. It'll sell like hotcakes. Thank
yeah.
you. I'm off my. So frustrated with Marvel.
Yeah. Um but anyway, you know what's the weirdest thing about this is um this isn't one of those things where like you can just call in the team that did No Way Home and just be like, okay, next one, because John Watts is with Star Wars now. He's doing Skeleton Crew, so like you can't even call in John Watts to do Spider-Man,
I
and
I
they
I assume they know what the story is for Spider-Man 4. They have to behind the scenes.
I don't know.
Well, we say that, but a lot of Marvel is like last minute changes and oh, this is what's cool right now. Let's do this. Let's beat DC to the punch. I don't know. The other
I don't know.
factor is you got two other factors. Amy Pascal, who knows what she's gonna do, and then what's Tom? What's his name? The guy in charge of Sony. He's the one that's really pushing for this. He's the one that held back Deadpool for years. Um, I can't think of his name, but Rothman or something. Tom, something like that.
Louis
Anyhow,
Rothman. Yep.
yep. He is
You guys are raisin. What the?
okay.
I just googled him.
Raisin? What?
He's old.
Okay. Um, yeah, he's one of those ones that he's had some success because he keeps budgets down. So the studios like him because he can make a profit. But yeah, I think Spider-Man, what's it called? No Way Home ended in a very good place for Spider-Man, and I don't want them to see them squander that. So I'd rather them not rush this.
Yeah.
The next chapter could be something really special, and I'd hate for it just to turn it back into I'm sad that Iron Man's gone. I don't want him to go back to that.
Well, and like here's the thing. So Steven Yeun has left Thunderbolts. He's no longer attached to it.
Yeah.
So he's free now, and now he can play Martin Lee like he should.
Mr. Negative. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, who else was that I said should play him? Donnie Yen. Did I say Donnie Yen as well? Just somebody,
yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
someone dope to play Mr. Negative and make him your big bad for the next Spider-Man saga. Um,
Because who else? Who else do you? I mean, they've been teasing Scorpion for a while, but who else have we not seen in a Spider-Man movie?
um,
Exactly. It'd have to be like Mr. Negative or Scorpion. Because
because I
you start
because
getting to the like Hobgoblins or Hydromans or
well, I mean they're definitely gonna do Hobgoblin at some point. Whether it's Ned or Roderick Kingsley is to be seen. Um,
I think we're gonna get a multiverse story. Well, one of two things. We'll either get a multiverse story where he encounters a different reality where there was never a Peter Parker and Ned turned to crime in that world and he is Hobgoblin. Or we'll see that because of the deal he made at the end of No Way Home that Ned becomes a criminal at some point. So
something like that. But yeah, they have said that they're not doing like Green Goblin or Doctor Octopus or Sandman
we could get the
or
Jackal
yeah,
because this is if he's going into the college era, that is when the Jackal makes his appearance.
and then Timothy Chalamet plays Ben Riley. um, yeah, it's here's the thing. It's always rough being a Spider-Man fan. So this is just business as usual.
uh, I don't fully disagree with you, Tripping Hork. I'm kind of on board.
You know what? You know what? I'm not a fan of Ned. I like Gank. Okay, from Ultimate from Miles Morales, because Ned leads like their version of Ned in the MCU is basically just Gank, um, and so I've always thought it was really weird that they've made Ned leads Gank. So I don't
You
know.
know,
What I need is I just need them to bring in Harry Osborn as his best friend.
you know what I want? I want
Okay.
I want Flash Thompson to go to war, lose his legs, and then he gets the symbiote that is still in the MCU and becomes Agent Venom. That's what I want.
They made some really weird decisions with their casting. I got to be honest, like because
I agree.
you're trying to tell me that dude is going to be Agent Venom. You're telling me that this dude is going to be the Hobgoblin. Like,
Yeah, I know. I know it's crazy, but they're the ones that did the casting. I don't know.
yeah. Once again, tough being a Spider-Man fan. Welcome to America.
If
Uh,
you want to read some good Spider-Man, go read Spider-Man. Was it Life Story that we
life
read?
story. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
fantastic.
you know what it is? Jonathan Hickman's it really feels like life story because every issue is a month.
Okay,
So yeah, so
yeah,
issue 1 was like I don't know what month it was, but it was like January, and then month 2 or issue 2 is February. So I mean like it feels like a year 1 mixed with an Earth 1. It's really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. From what I saw from issue one, it's what Marvel fans have been asking
Yeah.
for. It's what I've been asking for. When did Clone Saga end? 90 what 6, 97, somewhere in there.
I thought it was earlier.
95 maybe.
Was it before or after Maximum Carnage?
That was after, definitely
Oh,
after.
okay, yeah, because Maximum Carnage was 94.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. The end of the Clone Saga, Mary Jane was pregnant and she lost the baby at the end of Clone Saga. And they left it vague where you didn't know if Green Goblin had made them think that the baby was stillborn and that he had stole the baby, And then they did the Spider Girl story, where it's a future story where the baby had been kidnapped and they recovered her, and that became Mayday Parker. But
And
ever since
she was
then,
destined. She was destined to kill Mephisto.
yeah, ever since then, I have wanted the Peter Parker Mary Jane married couple with kids. So I mean, that's been 25 years for me.
So do you want me to? I'll go ahead and just spoil
Yeah,
issue
go
two
ahead,
for
go
you.
ahead.
So you know how so he is already married with May Parker before he's even Spider-Man, right? Like
Yeah. So is she May, or what are their names? I'll know the names of the kids.
I don't remember the name of the other one, but the first one is definitely May.
Okay, cool.
Uh, and so he's Spider-Man. He's new to this, but he's also a family man. So he's a little older, and so he has this like black suit that he goes around. It's kind of like Daredevil,
Hmm.
where like he's just got like this black Daredevil suit and he does this thing. Well, in issue two, the big thing happens, and May actually sees.
I
Uh,
did see that panel that she saw him, that he was Spider Man.
yeah, and she is terrified of him. She is so scared, and so the classic Spider-Man, "Woe is me." Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And then he comes home, and uh on the on the fridge is a note with a drawing that said, "Daddy, I drew your spider. I hope you like it." And it's it she drew a spider, but she drew it in crayon with red and blue,
Nice.
and so it is the way he gets his costume is probably because of his daughter.
That's awesome.
I
That's good
know,
storytelling.
I know.
What's and we're gonna spoil some Ultimate Spider-Man here. One of the other cool things about this universe is, in this universe, May died in a recent attack, and Ben Parker is still alive, and he works at the, or he did work at the Daily Bugle, and like him and J. Jonah Jameson are old friends,
Mhm.
and I think that is so cool.
Oh, and um, Tony Stark is a teenager, like in my favorite Iron Man cartoon,
The
Armored
Crossing.
Adventures.
Oh, okay, or the cartoon, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The cartoon Armored Adventures. It was one of my favorite shows as a kid,
Uh,
and so I've always. Most people are like, "Oh my god, teenage Tony Stark." I love teenage Tony Stark,
okay,
uh, and so
you're the one.
yeah, it's me. Hi, I'm here. So the fact that in Jonathan Hickman's Ultimate Universe, Iron Man is a teenager, I'm just it's like Hickman gets me, you know. Give me adult Spider-Man, but give me teenage Iron Man.
Jonathan Hickman's such a great creator.
He is so good.
If Marvel could get like 10 Jonathan Hickmans and just fire everybody else, just let them run the Marvel universe, I'd be all for that.
I can't remember. Did you read East of West?
I read the first 4 or 5 volumes. I'm waiting for the library to get some more volumes.
Okay, gotcha. I was just thinking about like his original works.
Yeah, I've read Nightly News. Didn't he write that one?
He did, yes.
Yeah, I've read that one, and I've read all his Fantastic Four and Shield. I've read that, and the
Has he done
Avengers
anything
stuff.
bad? Like, I can't think of anything he's done that's bad.
I mean, there's been some stories where I was like, oh, I mean, that was good, but but nothing that's just been like downright terrible. I hated it,
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, hard times being a Spider-Man fan, but still kind of cool that we get at least one good adaptation of Spider-Man at this point. Let's see. Oh, speaking of comics, I just heard about this. Apparently, because for those who don't know, they're re-releasing Phantom Menace in theaters for the 25th anniversary, similar to how they've been re-releasing the original trilogy for the 40th anniversary of each movie. So I assume in like 3 years we're going to be getting Attack of the Clones in theaters, and then in 3 years after that we're going to be getting Revenge of the Sith in theaters. just kind of following that trend. So, in honor of that, they are actually expanding on. They're expanding on Phantom Menace with like a one shot that's like a completely new story, which is interesting. It's being written by Greg Pak, who I am actually not familiar with.
He's hit or miss. He did World War Hulk and the Hercules comics. That's what I know him from, at least. I enjoyed the Hercules run, so yeah, we'll see. It's interesting how Phantom Menace it was reviled and hated for a long time, and now it's, I wouldn't say it's beloved, but it's definitely seen more favorably than it was when it first came out.
So here's the thing, and I'm going to what I'm about to say, my dear uncle, you are not going to be able to comprehend. Okay,
Okay.
the sequel trilogy will do the same thing because
Uh,
because when I was a kid, I loved Phantom Menace. I loved Attack of the Clones.
oh
I
no,
loved
no, I
Revenge of the Sith.
agree that a lot of the popularity that we're seeing for the prequel trilogy right now is from the kids who saw it, have now grown up, and this was their childhood. Totally get that. The other issue, though, is a lot of older fans saw the sequel trilogy and said, "Oh, prequel trilogy was at least had a cohesive story from point A to point B all throughout the three movies,
Sure.
and there was a roadmap." Whereas the sequel trilogy has no roadmap
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Well, then I'll see you all in 20 years whenever we get a crappy trilogy that makes the sequel
God,
trilogy look good.
can you imagine if I'm still doing this live stream at 63 years old? I'll be like, ah.
It's like, oh man, it turns out that Rise of Skywalker was actually pretty good.
God. The way it's going is going to be. Do you remember that company Disney? Do you remember them?
You know, when I was a kid, we had this thing called Kingdom Hearts. It was Final Fantasy and Disney, and all the kids are like, "Well, we've heard of Final Fantasy, but what's
Yeah.
this Disney you're talking about?"
What Disney, huh? That company went bankrupt in 2028. What are you talking about?
But yeah, I mean, like, I have no idea what this. Uh, Actually, hold on, let me read this. Explore the earliest days and secret inner life of Anakin Skywalker with never before seen revelatory stories set before, after, and between scenes of the classic movie, featuring the dream of a Jedi, the gift of a Tusken Raider, the heart of a Gungan, the ache of a mother, and the horror of a hero. Oh man, we're gonna get some heartbreaking stuff with Shmi Skywalker, aren't we? Ooh.
Maybe. You know what I kind of think this is?
What's
I
that?
kind of think this is somebody told Marvel that they're re-releasing it in what, April? Is that when it's coming out, or May?
Yeah,
And they go, "Oh crap, we got anything we could put out?" And they just
yeah,
scrambled and threw this together last minute.
sure. No. Here's the thing. That's definitely what it is. I'm not saying that this is like this is this is product synergy. That's definitely what this
Yeah,
is.
that's like they just announced a Wolverine Deadpool crossover that'll be going throughout the summer in the backup pages of all the books. And I'm like, oh yeah, you guys remember there's a movie coming out.
Yeah.
And I
Which I
agree,
mean,
Tripping Orc. There's only six. Actually, I would say there's 8 Star Wars movies because I'll count the Ewok movies. But yeah, that's all there is. So
well, hold on. There was the Clone Wars movie.
that movie is so bad.
It's so bad, and it's still better than Rise of Skywalker.
Well, yeah, but oh,
But then again, you know, if you all want to hear us debate the sequel trilogy, because I think of it more positively than he does, not extremely positively, but more positively. We have a whole show on that one too. Uh,
oh God, that was a show I got so mad that I forgot to even bring up them killing off Admiral Akbar. How much a shame that was, and killing him off screen, beloved character. Just he died over there. You didn't see it. Oh, Ryan Johnson. Ugh.
Well,
Okay,
well,
this is
even
not
well,
supposed. Hmm.
even the weirdest thing, Rise of Skywalker does the same thing, but to like sequel trilogy like expanded characters. So not only does like the sequel trilogy not respect old expanded universe characters, it doesn't even respect its own current expanded universe
That's
characters.
so bad. Can, can, can we get off of Star Wars now? It makes me so
uh
sad because I was such a Star Wars fan 20 years ago, and it
yeah.
makes me so sad.
Yeah. So Elden Ring, greatest game of the modern age. Not even a question. We finally get DLC. Um, do you know anything about Elden Ring?
Vaguely.
All right, we won't spend too much time on it. Elden
Yeah.
Ring is best game of the previous generation. It it is the final form of the Breath of the Wild clones. You know,
Okay. I get a
it
lot of these games mixed up because they all look
yeah.
similar to me. So,
This is the Bloodborne Dark Souls people.
okay.
Uh, and so this was Game of the Year 2022.
I've probably seen Doug play this. I just don't know what it is.
Oh,
So,
I'm sure Doug played it. Point Crow still plays this a lot. Point Crow actually plays this a lot because Nintendo gets mad at him whenever he plays Breath of the Wild, so he plays this instead.
yeah.
um, we're finally getting DLC 2 years later, which is par for the course for FromSoft. Um, and so we're super excited about this. I've never seen a DLC get Game of the Year, but this might be the year. um, so I'm super excited about it. Like I said, this is for me, so we don't have to spend too much time on it. We have one more thing to talk about. So let's go ahead and move on to that. Speaking of Nintendo, we had that partner showcase.
Hmm.
Um, was there any and we'll get to the main chief complaint here in a second. I know what you want to talk about.
Hmm.
Um, but
I thought this was a good direct. I thought that there was quite a few announcements. Some we were not expecting. I was not expecting to ever hear the words "Epic Mickey" ever again,
right,
and,
exactly.
and they are bringing it back. Uh, I own both the Epic Mickey games. I thought those games had a lot of potential, and I thought that they were misguided. They could have been better. But the concept, I remember when all the concept art kept leaking and thinking about how cool this game was going to be, and then the actual game wasn't quite as good as what we were hoping. But um, let's see. I think Grounded is a good title for Switch. I don't think it looks great on the Switch, but I think that makes a lot of sense. Monk,
I forgot about World of Goo. I
yeah,
think
World
everybody
of
forgot
Goo.
about that.
Monkey Ball is probably the most exciting announcement that they made.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I used to play a lot of Monkey Ball back in the day, and the idea of 16 players or whatever that sounds pretty fun.
If I could bring it back to Star Wars real quick.
Uh huh.
So Star
I'll
Wars
allow it.
Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, super exciting. For those who don't know, there was actually DLC for Battlefront 2. Um, Most people don't know about it because DLC wasn't really like a big thing back then. But
It,
they're like, oh,
is
go
this
ahead.
the game that has the Ewok hunt on it? Or is that a different game?
That's this game. Yes. Yeah. That
Okay,
is. Yeah.
okay, because my youngest son likes playing that mode. So okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Um, so we're getting an updated version of it. This is actually both Battlefronts 1 and 2. They have their own servers, 64 um, 64 players with dedicated servers. On the original Battlefront 2, you could only play the hero hunt on Mos Eisley Spaceport. Now you can play it on any map. So that is probably the biggest thing for me, because everything else you can have modded in. Um,
And
two
the
deal.
Jabba the Hutt stuff, is that all new? The Jabba's palace or whatever.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, and then you've also got you've got Asajj Ventress and Kit Fisto. Those were DLC characters back in the day. Um, so this is the all-encompassing collection. I think it's a little pricey. It is $35. But who knows? Maybe they're testing the waters to see if Battlefront is a viable. Uh, if they're seeing if Battlefront is perhaps a viable uh,
Franchise.
franchise, because the Battlefront 2, even though towards the end of its lifespan, the Celebration Edition made it a phenomenal game, it took them about a year and a half to get there, and by then it was just me and my friends left playing it. um,
So I will say this was probably the second announcement that got me the most excited during this. Basically, because I'm like, oh, this is all classic Star Wars characters. I don't see Rey, I don't see Kylo Ren, I don't see any of those jerks anywhere. This is awesome. So I think I'll wait and see how it runs on the Switch to see if we're gonna get it on the Switch. But we'll probably
mhm,
get this in some form on
yeah.
PS4 or Switch or something.
Also, another thing that I forgot to mention, so it's a dedicated service and it is crossplay through everything: Switch, PC, Xbox, PS4, crossplay. Everyone can play it. It's going to be amazing.
Uh,
um,
the other game that people got excited about was Pocket Jockey, which I've never played, but now I'm kind of curious about just from the reaction I heard online. A lot of people were like, "Oh, this game is so good."
yeah.
So that might be a fun little game to try out. A-
Uh,
And then Nintendo Switch Online, I think is the only, unless there's something else on here you want to talk about.
I love Contra, and so I'm super
Yeah,
excited
yeah.
for Contra. Cameron said that Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance looks different enough to be like a purchase, because Shin Megami Tensei 5 came out on Switch like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and so he says Vengeance looks different enough to warrant its own release instead of DLC.
This is one of those
Um,
franchises I never have any clue what it is when they announce it. I'm like, what? Huh? Who? Why?
I got to be honest though. Whenever Cameron describes it to me, apparently it's one of those that's like different every game. So like one of them can be like a cyberpunk investigation game. Another one is like a classic. Uh, Another one's like a classic, a sword and board, adventure. And then Persona is like school simulator. um, But
Yeah.
yeah, apparently, that's par for the course. Nobody knows what Shin Megami Tensei is.
Okay.
and then,
Um,
uh, and then, finally, before we move on to the uh, uh,
Switch
online stuff,
Online. Yeah.
uh, new South Park game. I'm so excited. They always knock it out of the park.
Sure.
Yeah.
Unicorn Overlord, I still remain pretty curious about that one. I
Oh
might try out
yeah.
the demo. It might scratch that Shining Force itch. I don't know.
And then
Uh,
Gundam Breaker I mean, Gundam is just dope no matter what it is. So
okay. So we got the Switch Online announcements. They started playing Rare music, and my brain just kind of went down. I was like, Rare, what are we talking about? And I was kind of like, oh, maybe Perfect Dark. And then they didn't announce Perfect Dark. We got Snake Rail and Roll, which is an old Nintendo game I had. It's pretty fun. RC Pro Am, which is one of the most frustrating racing games you'll ever play. Um, let's see what else. Battletoads, Killer Instinct, and then Blast Core. Which Blast Core is
mhm.
the one that I'm most interested in because I had bought Blast Cores as a used cartridge, and I could not figure out what to do because it already got through all the tutorials and stuff. It's like I don't know what I'm doing, so I'll be curious to play that one from the beginning to figure out what that game is finally. So this was some pretty good games. It gives us hope that we'll get. I think Banjo Tooie is a lock. Donkey Kong 64 definitely. Perfect Dark is more iffy. Um,
Especially because Perfect Dark is supposed to be rebooted on the Xbox anyways. So why would they like?
maybe to get you hyped to go buy it on the Xbox. I mean, that's what I would do. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, first of all, Xbox is being super weird anyways because like
yes,
I would figure you wouldn't want to put it on Switch because you don't want to confuse people and be like, hey, Perfect Dark, this is an Xbox thing. Um,
if I was
but
Xbox though, I would say yeah, you could have Perfect Dark, but you have to put an ad on there saying get the sequel on Xbox.
right, right. I'm personally excited because I mean, like, I'm a fighting game guy. I love Killer Instinct. So,
Do you
but they
think? Well, here before we get to the big thing we want to talk about, do you
okay.
think that we will ever get Conqueror's Bad Fur Day on Nintendo Switch Online?
No, 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 no,
I'm
no,
so
no.
glad. I am so glad I owed that on cartridge. I'm so glad that I walked into a Blockbuster video, bought that for $5. Um, one of the best purchases I've ever made. I love Conqueror's Bad Fur Day. So while we were getting this, we're like, okay, cool. And then I was seeing people upload their reactions to the direct, and they kept putting pictures of Mother 3, and I'm like, what? Why is there pictures of Mother 3? What? So it turns out in Japan they are getting Mother 3 for Nintendo Switch Online, and they're not getting the rare games. Um, this is heartbreaking and very frustrating if you are a longtime Earthbound fan like me. Mother 3 is what, like 15 years old, I think. It came out on the Game Boy Advance, only came out in Japan.
Yep.
We have been begging Nintendo for years, and I say we, there's a huge fan base that they drove Reggie crazy asking him about this when he was at Nintendo. Now they're bugging the original creator, and he's like, "Look, it's not up to me; it's up to Nintendo. Please,
Leave him alone.
please."
Go bother Bowser.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, and it seems like at this point we will never get Mother 3 in the US. Now, the guy at Tomato over at Starman.net, he did make a patch, a English patch where you can play it in English. And the fact that Nintendo didn't shut any of that down kind of tells you that yeah, they know it's out there and that they're never going to release it, so they're not going to shut down. Usually, Nintendo will shut down stuff that they're about to release. If you like, when someone did a remake of Metroid 2,
Yep.
as soon as it got released, Nintendo will usually let something like that get out for a day and then they'll shut down. And I think and a lot of people are like, oh, Nintendo sucks. I'm like, well, they let that get out there for at least a day, so it's out there instead of just killing it outright. Um, but yeah, Mother 3. The issue I believe is that there are some characters in the game. I can't remember what they're called, like the Magpie or Mags something, and they are like fantasy creatures, but they're genderless. And so I think Nintendo's a little concerned how they will come across, and they just don't want to stir up that controversy in the West.
There's also another thing that I didn't know about. I actually watched a video on the like because I've actually never played an Earthbound game.
Oh,
Uh,
Caleb. Oh, my heart. My heart. I thought I
but
raised you better than this, Caleb.
I was like, okay, what's the story of Mother 3? So I watched a video. I can't remember who it was. Like Eye Patch Wolf, I think does a video on it.
Hmm.
And so I watched a video on it, and there was a thing. Uh, there was like and it seems like a major plot point that you really can't edit or write out,
Mhm.
and it comes across as kind of a child and someone who is not a child.
Gotcha.
um,
Inappropriate relationship.
yeah, well, yeah, and it definitely weird. Question. So you're a big fan of this series. Have you ever played Mother
Mother
3?
3. Yeah, I've played like half of it. I need to go back and finish it.
Okay,
I think the laptop I was playing it on got broke or something. I just never went back and finished it, or something happened. But I
gotcha.
played like about half of it.
I
Um,
didn't know if you were holding out hope and uh
it's frustrating. It really is, because it's like I bet the people that want Mother 3 would pay $80 for that game, or even $100 for that game if Nintendo announced it. Like if they wanted to release it and say, okay, if you really want it, you got to pay extra. I think people would pay it.
I mean, honestly, what if there's the possibility that they don't release it because they are planning some sort of like official like release instead of just being on their um like retrospective streaming
Have
service?
you ever seen the Earthbound Player's Guide?
No.
So the original Earthbound game came with a big strategy guide, and inside the strategy guide, all of the characters were remade in claymation.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to find a picture. Da, 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 da. I mean, this is not the greatest picture, but it just kind of give you an idea. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Anyhow, if they would go back and remake all three games in this style, like the Link's Awakening game that recently came out, that thing would sell like crazy. And that's what I think they should do. I think they should go back and remake all three games, do claymation. If you want to make a couple little cultural changes, just to make it go over better, you know. Uh,
At this point, that probably is the way to go. Is
yeah,
a just full remake.
I think that is the smart thing. And this picture right here, this is just the four main characters. I think in the strategy guide, like every single character is remade in claymation. Like every villain, everything's in claymation in that book. So it's not like they would be starting from scratch. They have designs to go off of. So
You know what it is? I remember why I looked into Earthbound recently because I was always curious. I was like, so what's the story about Porky? Why is he a bad guy? And I look it up. I was like, oh, he's just a prick. Like,
I love Porky. He is such a. I have like a list of like the greatest video game villains. He is definitely on there. What a jerk. Porky and Tom Nook, right there. Those two. Oh man. So that's our. I think that's our news catch up. We'll stop there.
yep,
That well, a lot of
that's
things
what I
we're
got.
frustrated about. Frustrated with Spider-Man. Frustrated with Nintendo. But I think there's
Avatar.
yeah. But I think there's hope. Oh, I was just reading that the guy that is playing the I can't think of the character's name, the Fire Emperor in
Ozai.
Avatar. Yeah, the guy playing him, he thought he was signing up to be in James Cameron's Avatar.
That sucks.
It's very similar to the girls in Madam Web thought that they were signing up to be in an MCU movie, and then found out that, oh no, you're at this movie that no one cares about.
Yeah, which I mean, like that's I think that we are gonna be running into that issue uh here in a little bit. And honestly, this is what I'm hoping for. I hope that people keep making that mistake, so that way people are more likely to sign up for original projects rather than franchises because you don't know what franchise you're signing up for anymore.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you try out for a Marvel movie, you don't even know what plot part you're trying out for, anyways.
Yeah.
So I mean, they have no clue who they're about to be cast as. Anyhow, that's our show. Next week we're probably gonna do some fan casting. I know that Wizard Magazine back in the day used to do like here's who we want cast in a movie. And we might go back and look at some of those classic ones from 20 years ago.
You know what I'd
And
love
then
to do? I'd love to look at like a 2006 fan cast for an Avengers movie just to see what
yeah,
like
yeah,
one of those IMDb like fan casts from like 2006, something like that, just pre Robert Downey Jr.
yeah. So we're gonna probably dig into some of those. There's some stuff on the back end I'm trying to work out, see if we'll have available. I don't want to quite announce that just yet in case that falls through. But so next
Mhm.
week though, we'll be looking at some interesting casting. I know that you have that YouTube series that you've watched where the guy recasts all the movies and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So we will be discussing that next week. But until then, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
See ya.